on, everyone? My name is Jamon McKinney, or you can just call me Juice because that is my nickname. Today, we are discussing how many games the Atlanta Falcons are going to win during the 2020 NFL season. Let's dive right into it. So the Atlanta Falcons last year went 7-9 as a football team. Now I had the Atlanta Falcons going 10-6 last year. That obviously did not happen. Why did that not happen? Why did the Falcons underperform last year? Obviously, the defense was not that good. The defense underperformed. I felt that the defense was going to be a lot more healthy this year. I felt the defense would play at a much higher level than it did a season ago, in which they were dealing with a ton of injuries. That did not happen. And Dan Quinn, as the head coach, continues to annoy me. Okay? I felt the Atlanta Falcons should have fired Dan Quinn. However, they're keeping him around. He's not terrible. You know, he led this team to a Super Bowl not too long ago. But at the same time, I just think that this has to be the last year for Dan Quinn if this team underperforms once again. I don't think Dan Quinn is a great strategist. I don't think he's a great defensive mind, even though he was a defensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. And in Atlanta, that has not translated very well over the last couple of years as far as the defensive side of the football. I don't think he's overly creative on offense. Okay, so Dan Quinn, he's whatever. Now, the offense was good last year, but not great. They underperformed as a unit, in my opinion, because I felt the offense had a chance to be a top 5 unit last season. Now, why did they underperform? The offensive line really struggled last year to protect Matt Ryan. Now, was part of the fact that the offensive line was getting to Matt Ryan due to the fact that he held onto the football a little bit too long? Yes. At times, Matt Ryan was holding onto the football way too long, and some of those sacks are on him. Matt Ryan has to do a better job of getting the ball out of his hands very quickly. However, you can't slice it. Either way, the offensive line was just overall not that great. Chris Lindstrom obviously was a first-round pick that the Falcons were going to be trying to rely on from this past year. He got hurt very early in the season, and he missed most of the game. So he did not really contribute until the end of the season. And Caleb McGarry, their second-round pick, he got a rude awakening to the NFL. He really struggled last year, but I do think he'll be better in his second season. Now, the Falcons did add Justin McCray in the offseason. I guess he's an okay signing, but I don't expect this offensive line to magically get drastically better, because I don't think the Falcons made a ton of moves to improve that unit. So we'll see how the offensive line performs. Now, this team did win 4 straight games to end the season last year. So they are coming into 2020 on a high note, and this team has potential. Todd Gurley, they add him to the offense. He was released by the Rams. If Todd Gurley is 90% of what he was with the Rams, that's one of the best running backs in all of football. Julio Jones, I've been saying it for years and years now. He is the best wide receiver in football. It's not Mike Thomas. It's not DeAndre Hopkins. It's not Mike Evans. It's not Devontae Adams. It is Julio Jones. He's a stud. Calvin Ridley, who has been a good player up to this point, has not quite lived up to his potential when he was coming out of college at Alabama. I think Calvin Ridley is going to have a special year for this team. Hayden Hurst, did he perform particularly well for the Ravens last year? Not necessarily, but the Falcons traded a second-round pick for him, so I do think that he's going to be a decent replacement for Austin Hooper, who they lost. And listen, this team has 10 first-round picks on their offense. This offense has all the talent in the world to become a great unit. Will they become a great unit in 2020? We shall see. It is going to come down to Matt Ryan, if that is possible. Now, Falcons fans think I hate Matt Ryan. I don't hate Matt Ryan. There's no reason for me to hate Matt Ryan. I just simply called him overrated, roughly about 8 months ago. and Falcons fans got mad at me. They crushed me for it, okay? And I understand it because Matt Ryan, they think he's a decent quarterback. And I think Matt Ryan is a good quarterback. Let me be very clear. When I say a player is overrated, that does not mean they are a bad player. What overrated means is that you are put on a higher pedestal than your play has warranted. You are given more credit than you actually deserve. You are rated higher than you should be. Was Matt Ryan a top 10 quarterback a couple of years ago? Absolutely. Is he a top 10 quarterback right now? Absolutely not. And that is how I feel about Matt Ryan. I don't think Matt Ryan is a top 10 quarterback anymore. Is he a very good quarterback? Is he an above average quarterback? You betcha. He is an above average good quarterback. But top 10? No siree. Matt Ryan, over the last 2 seasons, has not been a top 10 quarterback. And Matt Ryan has slowly gone from the most underrated quarterback in football to the most overrated quarterback in football. Last year, Matt Ryan, everyone brings up Matt Ryan's statistics for why he's still a top 10 quarterback. And to be very clear, last year, 26 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. That's not impressive statistics, okay? But listen, a lot of Matt Ryan's statistics are what I call empty calorie stats. There's a difference between putting up numbers and making game-winning plays. Matt Ryan puts up numbers, but he does not consistently make game-winning plays. That's the problem, people. And I've always argued, outside of Matt Ryan's one MVP season, he's not been a dominant quarterback. He's maybe had one other season where he's just truly dominated the league. If you take out Matt Ryan's best and worst season, he's a B quarterback. He's not one of those elite guys. He's not dominating the sport, and that's okay. Matt Ryan has been to a Super Bowl. He's won an MVP in the past. He deserves our respect. But my problem with Matt Ryan is that the way the team is constructed dictates how he plays. And when you're a top 10 quarterback, that should not be the case. Okay, now maybe you could argue, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, even an older Drew Brees, that could be the case with those guys. But listen, I just think that there are better quarterbacks playing at a much higher level than Matt Ryan right now. I think he's good, but I think he's a little bit overrated because I think that he's not a top 10 quarterback, and people just have to put him in the top 10. And I don't think that's the case. Now, talking about the defense, will it be improved? Not so sure. Now, you did add Dante Fowler in the offseason at defensive end. He had 11.5 sacks last year for the Rams. That's a good signing. AJ Terrell, a first-round pick out of Clemson at defensive back. Now, I kind of said in the draft for 2020 that outside of Jeffrey Okudah and CJ Henderson, there weren't a whole lot of elite defensive backs. So after those guys, there was not a true consensus on who was the third, fourth, and fifth guy. So if you want to pick AJ Terrell where you picked him, that's fine with me. Also, I like the Marlon Davidson pick, okay, out of Auburn. He was a monster there, okay? Now, this defense has some decent players. Deion Jones, good player. Grady Jarrett, good player. But as a unit, I don't think they're scaring anyone. And when I look at the Falcons, I think that they're about the third best team in this division. I'm convinced that if you put a top 10 quarterback on the Buccaneers offense last year and you replace them and cut down Jameis Winston's turnovers, that was a playoff team last year. And the Saints, they're coming off a 13-3 season. So the problem with the Falcons is I don't think they're great defensively. I think their offensive line can be improved, but it's not great. And Matt Ryan is good, but he's past his prime. And all those things adding up, I think the Falcons are an 8-8 football team. I believe they're 8 wins, 8 losses this year. I think offensively, they're going to be good. Maybe not top 5 good, but they'll be a good unit. But when they have to face a team with any type of defense, they're going to struggle because they can't stop anyone. They can't stop a nosebleed, okay? Now, the defense did play better at the end of the year, but I don't trust the defense for an entire 16-game season. I don't think Matt Ryan is quite the same quarterback. So I see a lot of average on this football team. So I'm going to go 8-8. I think they're going to be better than last year. They were playing much better at the end of the season, once they started getting more chemistry with their overall team. But I don't see this team being any more than an 8-8 football team. Let's look at the schedule. Week 1 through 4, Seahawks, at Dallas, Chicago, and at Green Bay. I can see a 2-2 start to the season. You'll probably win both your home games, and you'll probably lose both your road games. Now, that Seattle game is very tricky. I'm going to favor Atlanta in that matchup simply because I think that Matt Ryan has played very well versus Russell Wilson throughout his entire career. He just kind of has Russell Wilson's number. And I think the Falcons, week number 1, they'll have something to prove. They'll probably win that game, but it could be a loss. Now, week 5 through 8, that's another easy stretch in my opinion. At Minnesota, that could be a tough game, but I think that Atlanta has a chance to beat Minnesota, even though they did get dominated by Minnesota last year. Now, Lions at home and Carolina twice, during that stretch. I think you'll lose at least one of those games. You might be 2-2 in that stretch, but I don't know. Denver at home in week number 9. Then you have a bye. You get week 11 at New Orleans and week 12 versus Vegas. I think Denver is actually going to be a loss. I know you get them at home, but I like what Denver has presented to the table. And I think that Denver will have no trouble scoring on Atlanta. And I think that Denver will get enough stops to win on the road. Now, bye week at New Orleans, I might give you the W right there. You guys split with New Orleans last year. New Orleans could easily sweep you this year, but have respect for Atlanta. I say they at least split with New Orleans this year. Vegas at home, that's probably a win. Now, weeks 13 through 17, this is brutal. New Orleans, at Chargers, Buccaneers, at Chiefs, at Tampa Bay. I think this team is going to start falling off a cliff the last 5 weeks of the season. So if Atlanta wants to make the playoffs, they need to at least be around a 3-loss team or maybe a 4-loss team heading into week 13 through 17. If they can be about a 4-loss team by that time, this team can make a playoff push. However, I don't know if that's going to be the case. You look at New Orleans, they're better. You look at the Chargers on the road. I think talent-wise, they're a more complete football team. Buccaneers, I think they're better than you. They might honestly sweep you, even though I do get a sense that you'll probably win one of those games. And at Kansas City, that's a loss in my opinion. Patrick Mahomes is special. So either way I slice it, I think Atlanta is an average football team this year. I think they're going to be 8-8. I don't see them as a playoff team. I think there's too many questions, especially on defense, and as far as the offensive line goes, and as far as their coaching goes. And I don't know how great Matt Ryan is anymore. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback. So either way you slice it, I think the Atlanta Falcons will be a formidable football team. They'll be competitive. But I see the Atlanta Falcons going 8-8 during the 2020 NFL season. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I currently am a freshman there right now. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.